told you the story of the 1,400 lorry drivers landed in massive debt because an accounting firm mismanaged their tax. The men behind the company disappeared with the drivers' money, and we couldn't get them to respond to our calls or letters. But recently, one of them has resurfaced.
This is Lucy Hester calling from the BBC's Inside Out programme.
This was me last year, trying to track down accounting company owner Simon Williams Cook.
He's just put the phone down on me. That's the second time he's done that inside a week.
Simon and his colleague Lee Wilson had disappeared, fleeing financial devastation and a trail of angry people, including his own sister.
I don't have anything to do with Simon Williams Cook anymore.
They owed piles of money to the taxman and to hundreds of lorry driver clients.
And what do you think of Think Accounting now?
Lower than a snake's belly. Fraudulent, con men, flabby-nights.
Last year we heard from agency lorry drivers who were clients of a company called Think Accounting. The drivers had started out as self-employed, but the taxman decided they should be treated as employees with different tax arrangements. Think Accounting failed to tell their drivers this, and they only found out when they got billed for thousands of pounds in unpaid tax.
My national insurance, my corporation tax, my VAT, Think Accounting had kept all of it and not forwarded anything on to the relevant parties, to the tune of £11,500.
I felt embarrassed. I kind of like brushed it under the carpet. I didn't want to tell my wife or my family. I was expecting bailiffs to knock at the front door.
I was basically, having panic attacks. And I went to the doctors and got tablets in the end.
And there was more. Think Accounting had signed many drivers up for a VAT rebate scheme, sometimes without telling the driver.
So let me try and get my head around how this flat rate VAT scheme works. So for example, if this is your weekly wage, so just for ease, let's say £100, you're allowed to charge 20% VAT on that, aren't you?
Yeah.
So effectively, your £100 becomes £120,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
that's correct, yeah.
And then what happens?
Then half of that goes to the taxman, and I keep the other half.
So your wage is now £110?
£110
Yeah.
and roughly £10 to the taxman.
But then Think Accounting took quite a hefty bite themselves, didn't they?
Exactly.
Think Accounting had been keeping hold of Paul's portion of VAT. When he asked for this, they sent him a bill for extra accounting services.
Charging me things like credit control service, £750, and that all totals £7,000 odd, and I never saw a penny of it.
Do you think you were naive or foolish to hand over your business affairs to a company like Think Accounting?
I don't have any skills in accounting. I know how to drive a lorry.
One accountant took Think Accounting to court on behalf of drivers.
When it comes to the flat rate VAT, which Think Accounting stole, and I say that explicitly, they stole it from the drivers. I took them to court on 10 occasions. On 9 occasions they actually paid. The 10th one, they got a county court judgment, but they never ended up paying it. It was an utter scam.
Think Accounting and its successor Igloo Accounting are now in liquidation. Directors Wilson and Cook have gone missing, not even turning up for court dates.
So this is a man involved in at least 2 businesses going through liquidation. This report estimates that Think Accounting owes the taxman over £3.5 million. That's money the lorry drivers have been left to pay.
But we think Simon Williams Cook is back in business. 200 miles away in a car park near Winchester, people are swapping stories.
Simon Williams, he told me his name was, and he put on a very good show.
He seems, a nice enough guy, quite plausible in what he was saying.
Gareth runs an HGV company. Jackie's a former driver who started a fund to help the families of drivers killed on the road.
At the moment, we're just a fund, hoping to get charity status in the near future.
Simon Williams Cook was keen to do business with both of them.
He come to us with all sorts of promises. He was very like-minded in his aims, So we was led to believe he wanted to help the drivers.
He joined the fund, and then after a couple of weeks he messaged me and said that he's part of the Drivers Revolution, and then they're coming up with all these apps and they want to help drivers.
But in both instances, he revealed nothing about his background.
He just said that they've set up the Drivers Revolution to help drivers. They were going to cut out the middleman with agencies, so the drivers would get more money.
So this is Driver Revolution. It's a Facebook forum aimed at lorry drivers, and there are some interesting posts on it, like this one: how best to get paid while on an agency. But when you look at who's behind this, it's a marketing company run by somebody called Lee Wilson.
We don't know for sure that it's the same man, but it was a Lee Wilson who ran Think Accounting with Simon Williams Cook. Luckily, Jackie did her research on Simon Williams Cook and found our original investigation.
We put his name into Google and then found out that obviously the previous programme that went out, absolute shock from, finding out how much he'd taken from drivers. So yeah, extremely angry about what he was doing and what he was trying to do through us.
He did try and deny being Simon Williams Cook for a little while, but I think that must have dawned on him the game was up.
Jackie worried he'd been keen to attract people to her fund so he could then contact the drivers for his own purposes.
That's something that I won't tolerate within the fund, because we are there to help other people, not really rip people off at all.
He'd already approached at least one person she knew.
We have a Just Giving page, and Steve was one of the biggest donators, and he started making a conversation with Steve, asking him to buy lots of merchandise, and then he would, sort Steve out with the money later on. But luckily I'd already warned Steve, and he copied me on the whole conversation.
So we'd like to speak to Simon Williams Cook and Lee Wilson to find out just what they're doing with Driver Revolution. So we'll call Lee Wilson first.
This is the Vodafone voicemail service. Please leave a message after the tone.
We tried several times, but this appears to be a marketing firm where no one answers the phone. Next, we tried Simon Williams Cook, with no luck. It's a shame, because we wanted to ask them what they've done with the lorry drivers' money and whether they have any intention of paying it back.
Welcome to the O2 messaging service.
Well, we've written to them both, we've emailed them, and we've now called them. We have absolutely no response from either Simon Williams Cook or Lee Wilson.
And we're not the only ones.
He was going to go through it all and prove to me that it wasn't him, it was this other bloke that whipped up 1,400 drivers, and from that day to this we ain't heard from him.
Action Fraud basically said he's not doing anything illegal, which I find very difficult to believe. I don't want him doing it to anybody anymore.
That's all from here in Hull, and for this series of Inside Out. We'll be back in January. Bye-bye.